What if I told you the Cleveland Browns might be about to make the most controversial decision in franchise history? We're not talking trades. We're not talking free agency. We're talking about potentially walking away from their 2025 first-round quarterback before he ever takes a meaningful snap. Yeah, you heard that right. And the name being whispered in draft rooms across the NFL? Oregon's Dante Moore. Buckle up, Browns Nation, because what I'm about to break down is going to have you questioning everything you thought you knew about this team's future. Listen, I get it. When the Browns drafted Shedeur Sanders, there was electricity in the air. Colorado's golden boy, son of a legend, the guy who was supposed to finally end our decades-long quarterback nightmare. But here's the cold, hard truth nobody wants to say out loud. He's been glued to the bench while Dillon Gabriel struggles through 4 starts that have been, let's be honest, painful to watch. And now ESPN's Mel Kiper Jr., the godfather of draft analysis himself, just dropped a bomb that's got the entire football world talking. He's projecting the Browns to take Dante Moore with the 6th overall pick in the 2026 draft. Not trade back, not draft a tackle. Moore, another quarterback. And here's the kicker. Kiper was one of Shedeur's biggest cheerleaders coming out of college, and even he's saying Cleveland needs to move on. Think about what that means for a second. An analyst who loved Sanders is now saying the Browns should cut their losses after less than 1 season. That's not just hot take territory. That's a legitimate indictment of what's happening inside the building. Kiper didn't mince words either. He said the organization hasn't given Shedeur a real chance, that Dillon Gabriel isn't franchise guy, and that Cleveland absolutely has to nail the quarterback position in a division where Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson are throwing touchdowns in their sleep. When you're staring down those 2 juggernauts twice a year, you can't afford to be wrong at quarterback. You just can't. Now, let's pump the brakes and look at what's really happening here. The Browns have 2 young quarterbacks on the roster right now. Shedeur Sanders, the high draft pick with the pedigree and the arm talent, hasn't seen the field in a meaningful game. Meanwhile, Dillon Gabriel has gotten the nod for 4 starts, and to put it kindly, he's been inconsistent. Some flashes, sure, but nothing that screams, this is our guy for the next decade. And that's where the panic sets in for the front office. You can't go into 2026 with question marks at the most important position in sports. Not in this division. Not with the talent on this roster. Not with Kevin Stefanski's job security hanging in the balance. Here's what makes this situation so fascinating and so frustrating at the same time. The Browns actually have a legitimately good football team outside of quarterback. The defense can fly around and make plays. The offensive line, when healthy, is one of the better units in the league. There are weapons on offense that can do damage. This isn't a rebuild situation. This is a we're one elite quarterback away from being dangerous situation. That's what makes the Dante Moore conversation so real. Cleveland is in win-now mode, whether they want to admit it or not, and if Sanders and Gabriel can't prove they're the answer in the next several weeks, the front office has to be exploring every option. So who is Dante Moore, and why is he suddenly the most talked-about name in Cleveland? Moore transferred to Oregon and has been putting together the kind of tape that makes NFL scouts salivate. Big arm, good athleticism, processes the field well, and he's playing in a pro-style system that translates to Sundays. Kiper has him as the #1 quarterback on his board right now. #1. That's ahead of every other signal caller in this upcoming class. And when you're sitting at pick 6 with questions at the position, you have to at least consider it. Moore represents something Sanders and Gabriel haven't shown yet, polish and readiness. He's the kind of prospect who could theoretically walk in and compete for the starting job immediately, which is exactly what a team like Cleveland needs if they're serious about contending. But here's where it gets messy. If the Browns draft Moore, what does that say about their evaluation process? It means they whiffed on Sanders without even giving him a real shot. It means they spent a high pick on a quarterback and bailed before his rookie contract even got warm. That's organizational chaos. That's the kind of move that gets general managers fired and coaches run out of town. On the flip side, if Sanders or Gabriel prove they can be the guy and Cleveland passes on Moore, they better be right, because missing on another quarterback decision could set this franchise back years. The margin for error is razor thin, and everyone in that building knows it. And hey, real quick, if you're loving this breakdown and you want to stay locked in on everything Browns, do me a favor and smash that like button right now. It helps the algorithm push this content to more fans like you, and it keeps Browns Breakout growing. Seriously, it takes 2 seconds and makes a huge difference. All right, let's get back to it. Here's the reality check nobody wants to hear. The Browns have been searching for a franchise quarterback for over 2 decades. Think about that. 20-plus years of draft picks, free agent signings, trades, and stopgap solutions, and we still don't have a definitive answer. That's not just bad luck, that's a systematic failure to identify and develop elite quarterback talent. Every year the question is the same: is this finally the guy? And every year we're left wondering what could have been. The fans deserve better. The city deserves better. And honestly, the roster deserves better. You can't waste a defense this talented and an offensive infrastructure this solid because you can't figure out the quarterback position. Now, could Shedeur Sanders still turn this around? Absolutely. He's got all the physical tools. He's got the football IQ. He's got the lineage and the confidence. But he needs reps. He needs to actually play. If the coaching staff refuses to give him meaningful snaps, how is he supposed to develop? How is he supposed to show what he can do under the bright lights? That's the part that doesn't make sense. You draft a guy high, you believe in him enough to make him a centerpiece of your future, and then you don't play him? That's organizational dysfunction at its finest. Either commit to developing Sanders or admit you made a mistake and pivot. The worst thing you can do is stay in this weird limbo where nobody knows what the plan is. Dillon Gabriel's situation is almost more frustrating because at least he's getting chances. 4 starts is enough to show you something. And what we've seen is a guy who can make throws but also makes head-scratching decisions. He's not losing games single-handedly, but he's not winning them either. That's the definition of mediocrity, and mediocrity at quarterback in the AFC North is a death sentence. You need a guy who can go toe-to-toe with Burrow and Jackson, who can make plays when the structure breaks down, who can carry the team when everything else is falling apart. Gabriel hasn't shown that yet, and the clock is ticking. The Dante Moore option represents something the Browns haven't had in a long time, a potential do-over with minimal consequences. If they draft Moore and it doesn't work out, at least they tried. At least they swung for the fences. But if they stick with what they have and it continues to underwhelm, that's negligence. That's choosing to be mediocre when greatness was sitting right there at pick 6. The 2026 draft might feel far away, but decisions are being made right now based on what happens over these final games. Every throw Sanders makes in practice, every mistake Gabriel makes in games, every scouting report on Moore, it's all building toward a franchise-altering decision. What's wild is that Cleveland is actually in a position of power here. They have options. They have draft capital. They have a roster that's ready to compete if they just get the quarterback right. Some teams would kill to be in this position. But with great opportunity comes great pressure, and the Browns front office is feeling every ounce of it. The fans are restless. The media is circling. The division rivals are laughing. This is Cleveland's chance to silence everyone and prove they can finally get the most important position in football figured out. As we head into the home stretch of this season, every game matters, not just for playoff positioning, but for the future of this franchise. If Shedeur Sanders gets a shot and lights it up, the Dante Moore talk disappears overnight. If Dillon Gabriel suddenly puts it all together and plays like a franchise quarterback, same thing. But if the status quo continues, if the uncertainty lingers, if the front office walks into the offseason still not knowing who their quarterback is, then Mel Kiper's prediction starts looking less like speculation and more like prophecy. Cleveland Browns fans, you've been through everything. The heartbreak, the false hope, the near misses, the what-ifs. You've earned the right to demand excellence. You've earned the right to expect this organization to make smart, bold decisions that position this team for sustained success. The quarterback position is the key to everything. Get it right, and this team can dominate the AFC North for years. Get it wrong, and we're back to square one, watching other teams celebrate while we're left wondering what might have been. The choice is coming. The decision will be made. And when it is, it better be the right one, because this fan base won't accept anything less than a true franchise quarterback leading this team into battle. The future starts now, and Browns Nation is watching every single move.